You might think owning a pub is one of the simplest businesses in the world. Buy drinks at a lower price, sell them at a higher price, create a nice atmosphere, wait for customers to walk through the door. From the outside, it looks almost obvious. A busy pub on a Friday night seems like a machine printing money. Glasses are constantly moving, tables are full, people are laughing, the cash register keeps ringing. But that picture hides the hardest part of the business. Because a pub does not survive simply because people buy drinks. It survives because enough people return often enough to cover costs that never stop. Rent does not disappear on a quiet Tuesday. Electricity does not become cheaper because customers stayed home. Staff wages still need to be paid. Suppliers still expect payment. Licensing rules still exist. And the biggest challenge is something every hospitality business faces: creating a reason for people to come back again and again. The drink is only the visible product. The real product is the habit, the meeting place after work, the weekend tradition, the place where friends celebrate birthdays, watch sports, have conversations, or simply escape their normal routine. This is why the economics of owning a pub are far more complicated than they appear, because a pub is not just selling alcohol. It is managing human behavior. And understanding why some pubs become profitable institutions while others disappear reveals a much bigger lesson about business itself. A successful pub begins with a simple question: not how many drinks can we sell, but how often can we convince the same customers to return? Because one loyal customer who visits every week can be worth far more than dozens of people who visit once. This is the first hidden system behind the business: frequency. Most businesses focus on attracting customers, but pubs have a different challenge. They need to create routines. A coffee shop might survive because people need caffeine every morning. A supermarket survives because people need groceries. A pub has to create a reason for people to choose it when they already have countless alternatives. Another pub, a restaurant, a home gathering, streaming entertainment, video games, social media. The competition is not only other pubs. The competition is every other way people can spend their time and money. And this creates an unusual economic reality. A pub can look successful and still be financially fragile. A crowded room does not automatically mean a healthy business. The reason is simple. Revenue is only one side of the equation. The money coming in has to fight against everything going out. A pub owner usually deals with several major expenses. The first is the building itself. Location matters enormously. A pub in a busy city area may have access to thousands of potential customers, but the rent can be extremely expensive. A cheaper location may reduce costs, but fewer people may walk past the door. The owner is constantly balancing visibility against survival. Then there is inventory. Drinks may have attractive margins, but they also create a constant management challenge. A pub cannot sell what it does not have, but buying too much creates another problem. Stock sitting in storage is money that has already been spent but has not yet returned. Good owners are not just sellers. They are careful operators managing a constant flow of cash. Then comes one of the biggest costs in hospitality: people. A pub needs staff during the hours customers want to visit. That means evenings, weekends, holidays. The busiest periods are exactly when more workers are needed. This creates a strange situation. The moments when the pub appears most successful are often the moments when the business becomes most expensive to operate. A full room requires more bartenders, more cleaning, more preparation, more management. The crowd creates revenue, but it also creates costs. And this leads to one of the biggest misconceptions about hospitality. Busy does not always mean profitable. A pub owner might look across a packed room and feel successful. But the important question is not, how many people are here? The important question is, after every cost is paid, how much is actually left? This is where many businesses struggle, because customers see the final product. They see the beer, the music, the atmosphere, the conversation. They do not see the invisible system operating underneath: the supplier relationships, the maintenance bills, the employee schedules, the taxes, the regulations, the negotiations, the decisions made months before a customer ever sits at the bar. And there is another hidden challenge that makes pubs different from many other businesses. The product itself is easy to copy. Anyone can buy drinks. Anyone can install tables. Anyone can create a menu. The difficult thing to copy is identity. Why does one pub become the place everyone goes? Why does another one, with similar prices and similar products, remain empty? The answer is not usually the drink. It is belonging. A successful pub becomes part of the local community. It becomes familiar. People know the staff. They recognize the regular customers. They know what kind of atmosphere they will find when they walk inside. The business is selling certainty. A customer is not only buying a drink, they are buying the expectation of a certain experience. This is why pubs have existed for centuries. The technology changes, the drinks change, the ownership changes, but the human need remains. People want places where social connections happen. However, that same dependence on human behavior creates a dangerous weakness, because habits can disappear. And when customer habits change, the entire economic structure starts to break. A small drop in visits might seem harmless, but a pub does not lose only one sale. It loses the drink purchase, the food purchase, the extra round, the future visits that customer might have made. A small change in behavior can create a much larger financial impact. And this is where the economics become a chain reaction. Fewer customers, lower revenue, pressure to cut costs, reduce staff, lower service quality. Customers notice the change. They visit less often. Revenue falls further. One problem spreads into another. The business is not just fighting for today's sales. It is protecting tomorrow's habits. This is why owning a pub is less like owning a simple shop and more like managing a living system. Every part affects another. The location affects customer numbers. Customer numbers affect revenue. Revenue affects staffing. Staffing affects experience. Experience affects whether customers return. And whether customers return determines whether the entire business survives. But there is one part of the pub economy that surprises many people. The most valuable thing inside a pub is not always what is being sold. It is the space itself, the empty chair, the table where people meet, the atmosphere created over years, the reputation built through thousands of customer experiences. Because once a pub becomes a local institution, it gains something difficult to measure: trust. And that trust can become a powerful economic advantage. But building it is incredibly difficult, and maintaining it may be even harder. Because the modern pub industry is facing a problem that goes beyond individual owners. Customer expectations are changing, costs are rising, competition is increasing, and the old idea of simply opening the doors and waiting for customers is becoming less realistic. To understand why, we need to look deeper into how the entire pub industry transformed, and why even successful operators have discovered that popularity alone is not enough. For decades, the traditional idea of a pub was built around routine. A local worker finishes the day. Friends meet after work. Families visit on weekends. Regular customers sit in the same seats. The pub becomes part of the rhythm of everyday life. But the world around the pub changed. People began spending more time at home. Entertainment became easier to access. Food delivery expanded. Alcohol consumption patterns changed in many countries. Younger generations often developed different social habits compared with previous generations. The challenge was not that people stopped wanting social experiences. The challenge was that they had more choices. And when customers have more choices, businesses have to fight harder for their attention. This created a difficult situation for many pub owners. The old model depended heavily on consistency, a reliable location, reliable spending patterns. But a business built on routine becomes vulnerable when routines change. A customer who visits every Friday is not just one customer. They are a predictable source of future revenue. Lose that habit, and the damage is larger than one missed visit. This is why customer loyalty is one of the most valuable assets in the pub industry. Not because loyal customers spend dramatically more every time, but because they make the business predictable. And predictability is extremely valuable. A business owner can plan around regular customers. They can estimate staffing needs. They can manage inventory. They can forecast cash flow. Without that predictability, every month becomes a gamble. This is where large pub operators gained an advantage. Companies operating many locations could spread costs across a larger system. They could negotiate better supplier deals. They could invest in marketing. They could analyze customer behavior across hundreds of locations. One of the clearest examples of this strategy is J.D. Wetherspoon. Founded in 1979, the company grew by building a large network of pubs across the United Kingdom. Its strategy was different from many traditional pubs. Instead of focusing only on being a neighborhood social club, it focused heavily on scale, efficiency, and value pricing. The company became known for offering relatively low prices by using its size and purchasing power. The idea was simple: sell more through efficiency. Lower margins per item could still work if enough customers came through the doors. But this approach also revealed an important truth about the pub business. There is no single formula for success. A small independent pub and a large chain may both sell drinks, but economically they are playing different games. A small pub competes through identity. A large chain competes through systems. One relies on personal connection. The other relies on operational efficiency. Both approaches have advantages. Both have weaknesses. A small pub might create a stronger emotional connection with customers, but it may struggle with rising costs. A large chain may control expenses better, but maintaining a unique local feeling across many locations is difficult. The industry is constantly balancing these two forces: efficiency versus personality, scale versus community, low prices versus premium experiences. And this brings us to one of the most misunderstood parts of the pub business: pricing. Many people assume higher prices automatically mean higher profits, but pricing is not that simple. A pub cannot just increase prices whenever costs rise, because customers compare. They remember. They change behavior. A small increase might seem insignificant to the owner, but repeated increases across food, drinks, and visits can change how customers view the entire experience. A customer might think, "Is this place still worth it?" That question is dangerous, because pubs are not selling essential products. They are selling discretionary spending, money customers choose to spend. When household budgets become tighter, entertainment businesses feel the pressure quickly. This creates another economic reality. Pubs often operate between two opposite forces. They need to charge enough to survive, but they cannot charge so much that customers stop coming. The perfect price is not simply the highest possible price. It is the price that keeps the habit alive. And sometimes the cheapest looking strategy is not the best strategy either. A pub with extremely low prices may attract customers, but if margins become too thin, every problem becomes more dangerous. A broken refrigerator, a slow month, an unexpected repair, a rise in supplier costs. Small margins leave little room for mistakes. This is why experienced operators focus less on one individual sale and more on the entire economic ecosystem. How often does someone visit? How long do they stay? Do they buy food? Do they bring friends? Do they return next week? A single customer visit is only one moment. A relationship with a customer is a long-term asset. But even strong customer relationships cannot protect a badly managed business forever, because pubs have another hidden enemy: fixed costs. A fixed cost is an expense that exists whether customers arrive or not. Rent is the obvious example. Insurance. Certain staff costs. Maintenance. These costs continue even during slow periods. This creates pressure because revenue is unpredictable. A Saturday night can be excellent. A rainy Tuesday can be almost empty. But the bills do not follow the same pattern. This is why cash flow becomes one of the most important skills for owners. Profit on paper does not always mean money in the bank. A business can appear successful but still struggle to pay immediate expenses. And when cash becomes tight, owners face difficult decisions. Reduce staff? Reduce opening hours? Change suppliers? Increase prices? Each decision creates consequences. The pub business is full of these trade-offs. There is rarely a perfect choice. Only choices with different risks. This is why the idea of owning a pub as an easy lifestyle business is often misleading. For some owners, it can become a rewarding community business, a place with loyal customers, a respected local identity, a valuable asset. But for others, it becomes a constant battle against costs, competition, and changing behavior. The difference is often not passion. Many struggling owners love their pubs. The difference is whether they understand the system, because passion can create a great atmosphere. But economics decides whether the doors stay open. The best operators understand something deeper. They are not really selling drinks. They are managing a marketplace of human decisions. Every customer is making a choice. Where should I spend my evening? Where should I meet my friends? Where feels worth returning to? The pub that wins is usually the one that understands those choices better than competitors. Now, consider what happens when one part of that system fails. Suppose a pub loses its regular customers. At first, the impact looks small. A few quieter nights, fewer orders. But then the consequences begin. Lower sales reduce available money. The owner delays improvements. The atmosphere slowly declines. Customers notice fewer events, slower service, or reduced quality. The experience becomes weaker. More customers leave. The original problem becomes larger. This is the domino effect that destroys many hospitality businesses. Not one dramatic failure, a slow erosion. A business can disappear not because nobody liked it, but because fewer people cared enough to return. So what does a successful pub actually look like? The best-case scenario is a business that becomes part of the community. It has loyal customers, strong management, controlled costs, a clear identity. It generates enough profit to reward the owner and survive difficult periods. The realistic successful outcome is usually less glamorous. It is hard work, long hours, constant attention to details, careful financial management. A good pub is rarely an accidental success. The realistic negative outcome is much harder. An owner invests heavily. The pub looks busy. Customers enjoy it. But the numbers never work. Costs rise faster than revenue. Debt increases. The owner spends more time fixing problems than building the business. Eventually, the doors close. The biggest lesson is that a pub is not primarily a drink business. It is a repeat customer business. The drinks are the transaction. The experience creates the reason. The relationships create the value. And the economics determine whether that value becomes a sustainable business or just an expensive dream. At the beginning, owning a pub looks simple. Buy products, sell products, make money. But underneath that simple picture is a much more complicated machine. A machine powered by human habits, emotional connections, operational discipline, and financial control. The successful pub owner is not simply someone who knows how to pour a drink. They understand why someone chooses to walk through the door today, and why they will choose to come back tomorrow. Because in the end, the real business of a pub was never just selling what is behind the bar. It was creating a place people believe is worth returning to.